our country, we will speak to Natalia Humaniuk, the head of the United Press Center of the Ministry of Defense. At 2 o'clock, we will have Katerina Lomakina, the officer on barrier-free environment in Ukraine. We will be discussing rehabilitation of our people after combat injuries. And right now, we have with us the head of administration of the Seaports of Ukraine. Hello. Dmytro, can we speak about the work of Seaports right now? What is happening right now? Are we more successful with the capacities at the Danube ports? I will share a bit about the general situation. As you are aware, there are 18 ports in Ukraine. 5 were temporarily occupied back in 2014 when the Crimean Peninsula was occupied, and since the 24th of February this year, the ports in Mariupol, Berdansk, Kherson, and Skadovsk have been temporarily occupied too. So they have been closed down by the order of the Ministry of Infrastructure, because we have no access to them, we cannot control them. So there are 6 ports in Odessa, in Chernomorsk, and Mykolaiv region. They are blocked from the sea because the northwestern part of the Black Sea is blocked because of the missile carriers and also the submarines located there, and also some regions of approach of the vessels are mined. So these ports do not operate right now. The 3 ports in the Danube zone still work. It is Donetsk, Ismail, and Reni, and all the exports are mainly happening there. Usually these are agricultural products, and they were redirected there. They were not ready for such huge capacities, some huge loads. And let us give an example. Back in March, they have delivered together 400,000 tons. In April, 800,000, in May, 1.3 million, and in June, we are aiming at 1.5 million of the total cargo. So, speaking of the percentage of our pre-invasion capacity. So right now it's about 1.3 million, but what were the capacities prior to the war? Prior to the war, all ports of Ukraine could process 5 million tons of agricultural products per month. So it is less than 1/3 of what was shipped before the war, and it is incomparable to the capacity of the deep sea ports that were available to the ones that are available right now. It is only up to 7 meters below the water. That's what's only available right now. So are there any prospects for increasing the scopes till August, or is this the limit that we have reached right now? Speaking of ports, we are already somewhere at the limit, somewhere at the maximum. Considering the organizational short-term logistical solutions that we have implemented already, we are already at the maximum. All the rest would require some mid-term or long-term investments. The construction of new loading facilities at the terminals, and it would be possible to further increase the numbers, but for this some construction would be necessary. And also the experts are not only happening through the ports of Danube, we are also increasing the railway and road transportation. So in total, this indeed gives us some increase in numbers, but once again, it is incomparable with what let's say we could do before. So the largest ship would deliver 80,000 tons of cargo. It is equal to 4,000 of vehicles. And what is happening to the international ships blocked by the occupiers at seas? Indeed, in our ports, there are international ships, and there are about 70 of them. Some of them still house the seamen, and those who were not able to evacuate in the beginning, and also sometimes the Ukrainian crew members as well. So the ships cannot be left without control. They need to be maintained to avoid the environmental challenges, to adjust it to weather conditions, etc. So everything needs to be kept under control. So some of those ships are partially loaded, some of them have not been loaded yet. So indeed they are blocked. Indeed they cannot leave the ports under the current conditions. So we have heard information from open sources that it was possible to liberate one of such international ships in Mariupol. Yes, just as you're saying, I indeed saw this information in some Telegram channel and on the internet, but we do not have the connection. We cannot control those ports. It was tracked in the marine traffic system. I indeed saw this, but I am not ready to comment on this yet. Your questions, dear colleagues. Ukraine form Marina Kožihar. Can you please share about the situation? As of mid-June, there are long lines in the Danube ports waiting near the Romanian Canal. And is the situation deteriorating, or is it the same as before? One more question is about Reni and Ismail, the ports that are heavily overloaded right now. Is there any vision for improving the situation? Is there any algorithm developed to do this? And also, can you share, please, about the situation in the human resources at the ports that are not available right now? Are they working at least partially? Thank you. So, indeed, when the scopes started to increase in the ports, when the load started to increase, this entailed long lines. And I gave you just one example, that the big ship can only be substituted by 4,000 trucks. And Ukraine has made a big leap forward. I mean, the construction of the so-called dry ports, where these loads are waiting for their turn to be able to unload their cargoes to the ships. So in this case, it is possible to track the line on the cell phone, but in any case, it is impossible to somehow uh, get rid of those thousands of trucks. They are waiting there, and the line is progressing a little further. As for the canal you are mentioning, it is Romanian and is administered by the Danube administration, and there are certain rules, certain conditions that need to be met, how and when it is operating, how many captains are there, etc. So Ukraine is taking lots of efforts at the level of ministries, prime ministers, at the level of our state enterprise to persuade the Romanian colleagues in order to increase the staff, and this is of crucial importance to be able to let in more ships to the Ukrainian ports on the Danube. Right now we have introduced a 2-week plan. We are sending all the relevant information to the administration of Lower Danube, detailing the kind of vessel, the destination port, and specifying that the cargo is ready and waiting for the ship. So when all these things come together, the ship is let in without any delay. But still, these are smaller ships because, as I have mentioned, the maximum depth over there it is just 7 meters. Also, there are inner waterways transportation on the rivers, and again, these vessels are traveling to Ismail, Reni, and the port of Constanza. So this is also a big number of vessels that are being pulled that way to Constanza, where they are subsequently reloaded to the sea vessel. This is how it works right now. With each coming day it works better and more smoothly, but we need to understand that once again the depths of the canal is limited, and also the number of hours in the day is limited. So this can surely not substitute the seaports that we have put so much effort and investment into, and we have developed them to the proper capacity at proper depths for the Ukrainian exports. So the previous year there were 160 million of tons delivered. And the third question was about labor relations in the ports that are in the temporarily occupied territories. With the ports we still have connection with, the management of them, and not only the managers, they are getting the salaries. We are supporting them and their families this way, but basically the entire team of the administration of seaports of Ukraine since day one of this war are on hold. But indeed, there are those who work daily, the security personnel, the specialists monitoring the environment parameters, and of course we need to keep up the ports in the proper condition so that once the military situation is resolved, we can resume their work as fast as possible so that we have enough time to do that, and so that it doesn't take us long to resume the work. And last question from me is about Kherson. Recently, the occupiers have announced that they intend to resume the work of the port of Kherson. Do you have any information? Well, in the same way as you, I've seen that in the media, and well, what can I say? The occupiers are occupiers. They do not have any uh, proper moral features. Surely we will prevail and we'll get the ports back and resume our work. Thank you. This was Dmytro Barinov, the deputy head of the administration of Seaports, and our next briefing is going to take place at 1 p.m. We are going to discuss the situation in the south